Shake. Speak.
Hi there.
Did that dog just say hi there?
Oh, yes.
Bruh!
My name is Doug. I have just met you, and I love you.
What?
My master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel! My master is good and smart.
It's not possible!
Oh, it is because my master is smart.
Cool. What it is, new boy?
Hey, would you throw that crowd?
Hello. Please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat. We'll put a movie on for you. This is Movies at Grandma's House, where we look at the movies from the past to see if they're still good today. And I'm your host, Isaac. Hey, let's play a game. It's called See Who Can Be Quiet the Longest. And who's joining me in a world where who knows how many balloons are making a house travel the world?
This is Seth. Cool. My mom loves that game.
It is great to see you, Seth. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm having a good day.
That's great to hear. I'm a little stuffed up, a little allergies or something today. So I apologize in advance if it sounds like I've got something holding my nose or kind of just whatever, kind of under the weather, whatever you want to call it. But I'm doing great otherwise. I'm excited to get into our continuation of Peak Pixar because this has been a journey to say the least. We're just going right along. We're going through, and to me, it's bringing up some fun memories, and we'll talk about it a little bit with this movie just as well. But before we get into it, just a reminder, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that little bell, so you'll be notified when more content comes in. That way, you'll get all the updates you need when it comes to Movies at Grandma's House. Also, again, we are on Patreon, so be sure to check us out. We've got the Toy Story trilogy up for grabs. It's on Blu-ray. All you got to do is join, and it'll be a random drawing, random person that is able to win that. So be sure to check us out. And also, we give the disclaimer as well. If you have not seen this movie, please stop what you're doing. Go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Might have it somewhere on DVD, Blu-ray, all that good stuff, but go watch it. Come on back, and we're going to have a great time with this. This is a movie that's continuing, like we said, in the now Disney Pixar, since Disney had bought Pixar by this point. But we're going to be considering a movie called simply Up. It was released back on May 29th, 2009. It had a budget of $175 million. And I'm sure we'll get into it why that's the case. It just still blows my mind how expensive these CGI movies got to be. However, once again, Pixar made this a big hit. It made $735.1 million. It's just how Pixar was. They were just turning out hit after hit. And this movie got some pretty favorable reviews overall. I was noticing, we might have touched on this on another Pixar movie, but this has currently a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
And I was same reaction. Whoa. And 8.3 on IMDb. So it's been kind of one of those movies. I think we'll talk about it a little bit, but it was a pretty big hit for certain reasons. There were certain things about the film I recall, but just looking back, those are the numbers. It still kind of wows you a little bit. With that in mind, let's talk about our first memories. So what are some first memories you have with this film?
So I remember being overwhelmed by the emotional aspect. Might be a little bit shocking, but this isn't a movie I hold in high regards. But I'll get to that later for sure.
Yeah, that's it. I'll say I actually did not go see this movie. because I heard about it. I heard it was a very emotional experience, especially the beginning, and we're gonna definitely touch on that. But that was my first experience with it. I didn't see this movie till much later. Just being frank, this was one of the first Pixar movies I didn't see right away in some shape or form, and I don't think I disliked it when I did end up seeing it. I think I enjoyed it. It was again that Pixar charm, but we'll get into it. That's just kind of the memories I had of it the first time I ever saw it. But thinking about that, going back to the rewatch, what were some of your expectations?
Well, it was really just hoping to have a nice time. Like you were mentioning, maybe to revisit would be like a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's those types of things, you think back like, "Oh, I remember this being really emotional and this or that." So my expectation was like, I hope I can enjoy it for what it is because again, this is Pixar. This is a we've talked about it. They're good at telling stories. They're good at coming across in a way that you can enjoy it. But I was just hoping I my expectations were I don't remember hating this movie, but we'll see. I guess because it's been a while since I've seen it, to be honest. So that was kind of my expectations going into this one. But let's get down to it. Let's jump right into it. Let's take the VHS out of the cover. Let's put it in the VCR and press play.
So I have to double down on the spoiler alert. This is quite an emotional tale. Here we go. Carl Fredricksen is determined to save his home and keep the promise he made to his late wife. He embarks on a journey to South America to a place called Paradise Falls. The widower had made a promise to one day travel to a mysterious place called Paradise Falls. He is about to be taken to a retirement home when he devises a plan to keep his house and visit South America by tying thousands of balloons to his house, which goes off without a hitch until he finds out that a Boy Scout named Russell is on his front porch. In this tall tale, Carl realizes the awesome life he had and that he still can enjoy what time he has left.
So there it is. That's kind of tiptoeing around the I'd call it the meat of this movie because yeah, out of all the movies we've ever talked about, I like to get first impressions when you're watching this movie. Wow, where do you start? I have to pin it on you. Like, where do you start with this movie when it comes to first impressions?
I mean, honestly, the rewatch that I did for this film, I enjoyed it, but I remember watching this the first time and being like, that's too much for me.
Mm,
I can't handle that. And just the plot alone, if I want to break it down real quick, talks about how he made a promise to his late wife. The widower makes a promise, and he's about to be taken away to a retirement home forcibly. And it's like he's gonna try to realize what he has, what to do with this time he has left. And it's like very serious topics for a Pixar movie. I thought it was just too overwhelming for that what's the word I want to use? Like franchise for the content that's going towards the core demographic, I guess.
yeah,
It just seemed a little bit too much for me, and I'll get into it. We can definitely dissect it, but that's
yeah.
that. When I think about the plot, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overcome.
I agree with that. Everything you said is just spot on because that's what I remember this movie getting a lot of attention for is this was not like a Pixar movie in terms of the subject matter. There's a lot of deep, emotional, more adult, but not like a bad adult. It's just this is serious stuff you don't deal with until you're an adult, or at least you don't understand. But I'll give it props because for the first 15 minutes, it gives, I would argue, as good or better than 50% or so of the romantic movies I've ever seen. and they were able to convey that in 15 minutes. I thought that's unbelievable the way they were able to tell the story. But yes, my goodness, this is just an emotional on the rewatch. I think it hit me more just because of my experiences, what I've been through. It really set with me more. Uh, I made a note of they tried to buy the house they moved into, so it's very sentimental because as they were kids, um, and then things keep breaking and they keep using their funds to buy. It's little stuff, little subtle things I actually really appreciate. Like, yeah, like this is what life is like. You're trying to make things work and sometimes it just doesn't work out. Maybe rewind a little bit though. What did you think of just them as kids? That part with Ellie and him as a boy.
I really like that part. It's I think what you nailed it because when they do like the flashbacks and stuff, it's really setting the tone and building the characters really quickly, and they do that really well. Pixar has a way of just really getting to the characters' core quickly and giving off what they're about. And I think when they were kids, it was really nice to see that, or the different energies they put off, who the different personalities. I really liked that. That was really cool.
I agree. I enjoyed it. Ellie's just I thought adorable. She's just fun. She's just you could see why he got along with her. He was it's that whole like opposites attract. He's quiet, but they share that interest with the explorer and she's just really energetic and that's why it's just so man, it's just so heartbreaking. Like, my goodness, how is that possible? It's just a few minutes later, then you see them get married and seems all happy, but I mean, it touches on again, like you said, some deep stuff of she wasn't able to have kids and you're seeing them kind of emotionally dealing with that. And oh my gosh, it's just like I can't even hardly go on about it. I mean, like it's just crazy how again, I'm just I show respect to it if they do a good job of it, but it is a lot to deal with for, this is the start of the movie. That's typically stuff they
Yeah,
save for the end.
yeah,
It's like, no, Pixar was trying to rip your heart out. Like that's what their objective was this movie. It feels like. Um, but I do love a line. I don't know if what you thought of like the quotes in this movie. There is a line she says, she's talking about where she wanted to go eventually, the exploring. And she's talking about the South America. She's like, it's America. It's like America, but South.
it's cute.
I really like that. So there's, it's not all sad, but oh man, I don't know. You said you got through it this rewatch a little bit better than the first time, though.
Yeah, well, okay. So if I can say this, I'm probably doubling down or tripling down on this. It's a kids movie.
Yeah,
And that's how I see it. I mean, I don't know any other way to see it, like in my personally. And as I've said before, it's so emotional that it's such an emotional film that maybe one of the most emotional films I've seen, and certainly the most emotional animated one. That being said, it's a good film with many great scenes, like you had mentioned, some of the highlights of the film. But I have to say, it was too emotional for me to get the most out of it, and it wrecked me so much the entire film that like I found myself constantly in tears. Like I was just even with the rewatch, like it was a better experience than the first time I watched it or whenever I watched it last. It was just so much. It was just like I can't take this. It just tore my heart apart.
yeah, yeah. That's the best way to put it. I mean,
I
this is
guess
just
I guess what I'm trying to say is like when it's an animated picture, you don't expect that, and so it's even harder to watch for me.
right. Yeah, this is supposed to be an escape. It's a movie, and
Yeah.
like you said, a kids movie, and yeah, I mean it. definitely sets the tone for the movie, and you come to understand his emotions throughout the film. Like you said, he's trying to get to this destination. It's in that scrapbook that she had made. So you get it, but it's still so sad when you see that scene of it's beautifully done, but in a very beautiful disaster or whatever you want to call it. It's sad of the transitioning. He's there with her and then he's by himself. Just that sequence, that shot is it's very beautiful, but it's so sad.
Yeah.
And it just gets me every time. I'm just like, man. And I do appreciate the balloons. It shows him as this balloon, uh, at like a zoo, and that is what he uses to move this house because he says, you know what, um, I'm gonna go because that was a promise that I made. And like you were saying, he was going to be going to a retirement home anyway. They kind of forced him because of an unforeseen occurrence there. He had an incident. So yeah, what did you think of that sequence going from, we're touching on that scene and feel free to bring that out more, but I'm also trying to get away from that too.
So I think for me, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but for me, the scene where they wanted to have kids and they couldn't
Yeah.
was very touching. I mean, like, and then it goes into like the fact that she's sick and then she's getting sicker, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot to process. And I know that I've mentioned this several times on the podcast. I'm an emotional guy, and I'm willing to admit that. So maybe for some people, it's easier to process those emotions. But for me, it's a hard hard pill to swallow. You know what I'm saying? I can't let go of those feelings when I've experienced them. I'll live with them for a little while, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's a clever movie, and there are great things about it. I will say that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just so hard for me to enjoy it.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Yeah, going back to, I mean, that's what kinda, I'll say it kinda wrecked me a little bit just seeing that. I mean, not having children, and she's just this positive, outgoing person, and then, there's a scene, he's looking out and she's sitting in a chair out in the yard, and it's just her kinda being to herself, and it's just sad. It's just sad. It's so sad. I mean, I have that in my note. Like I like to make little notes of as I'm experiencing the rewatch. I mean, I don't have just sad. I have so like sad. Period.
Love it.
So yeah, that's just how best way I could convey it to remind myself, because you talk about it and it's like, yeah, I remember that scene, but when you're in the sequence of watching it, man, it's just so sad. And give hats off in the you know hindsight of it, of Pixar again just doing a good job of telling the story.
Yeah.
But there are good things, like you said. We can always come back to that. But I do enjoy the colors of the animation. It's so beautiful to look at, like the landscape, all the different colored balloons and things like that. What'd you think of the animation?
Animation was what I loved about the animation was it's kind of more muted than the other Pixar films. I felt it was more like it's not that it wasn't like that it was less colorful. It's more like the whole story was kind of dimmed down so that it wasn't as bright. And I liked that because it was a darker story, and it needed to be kind of set in a darker world. You know what I mean? Like that's how I took it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they do that kind of transition. Like, not all of it is bright for sure. There are
No,
parts
yeah.
where it is, but right, it's not throughout, because again, you see what he's been through, his life story pretty much in those 15 minutes, and you understand he's this grumpy guy, but you understand it. You're like, I get it. Like, I totally get that. And it's not till the balloons come out, it's not till they're in South America that you really see those colors
Yeah.
start to really come out. And that was kind of another way I took it as storytelling. It's kind of not dark, but it, like you said, toned down at the
Yeah.
beginning. Then when you show them in the house, it is kind of dark. it's kind of, there's not a lot of lighting. There's not, that's how he's living, is in this dark house. So it almost is the tones telling the emotions because as the story goes on, he's growing and Russell is an interesting little like opposite to him. What'd you think about Russell?
I love Russell. I know a lot of people like the animals in the movie, but I
Yeah.
like Russell. Probably Russell, and then is it Carl and Ellie? I like them as
Mhm.
children, and Russell. That those to me like that was the core of the film.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Russell was very funny.
I love his GPS and it's so great. Yeah. He's just like, we can go anywhere and we can see where we are anywhere in the world. Oops. He's a great character, I agree.
Yeah,
He means well, but he's still a child. He's still
yeah.
young and innocent and makes these little mistakes, and that's just driving Carl up the wall where he's just like, "I wanted to go by myself," throughout the movie, he gets to where he's tolerating him, and ultimately they get along, but up till that point, he's just so annoyed with him, and they just bounce off each other very well. I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Uh But yeah, and then when you're talking about the animals, I think I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people really liked it. I wouldn't say it was, like, the most amazing thing. I'm kind of with you. I kinda like Russell just as much, maybe a little bit more, but what did you think of the animals? I mean, there's a kind of a random assortment of animals in this one when you come to think about it.
I like the animals. It wasn't my favorite thing about the movie by far, but I did appreciate the different personalities and some of the jokes that were they hit with me.
Yeah. Yeah, the talking dog idea is really funny. Um the one dog that's supposed to be the alpha, there's some button malfunction. It makes his voice really high. Like that's funny. And who could forget Doug, right? He's kind of the scene stealer at times when he's talking about seeing the squirrel and stuff. I mean, those are great, great touches, I think. But um,
That's one thing. If I could cut in real quick,
yes, go for it.
um, the first time I ever watched this, I really liked that character, and then the preceding viewings, I liked them less and less and less. And I don't know if it's because it took away from the rest of the storyline or what it was for me, but it just didn't resonate really well. And it's weird because I really enjoyed it that first viewing. Like it was, yeah, I thought it was hysterical.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's like maybe this time I didn't think he was as funny. Maybe he's just I don't know. Maybe now I'm older, whatever the reason is, but I still found him funny. No, don't get me wrong. It's not like, oh, I don't like him now, but I kind of am with you on that. I must have had the same feelings on that just on the rewatch, but it's still fun. I love when the bird, whatever, I forget what they called it, but that
Oh yeah.
rare bird constantly chokes on his walker thing. I crack up every time at that. As silly as it is, it's just if you've ever had a pet before or something like it just seems like they do that. They'll get this stuff and they'll choke on it or they'll eat it. And the expression, I don't know how they did it. It just captures it so well. I I thought that was interesting. So, but what'd you think of the kind of going back to the plot a little bit? I mean, the specific scene or overall, what did you think of the plot?
The plot, I mean, if you can get past the emotional aspects of the film, which is the basis of the film, um, I thought the plot was clever. I liked the different things that they brought out, the different characters. I liked how they told a story, like you mentioned, really well. Um, it's a good movie. It's just a hard watch for me.
Gotcha. I
I
could
I, I can't really say much more about it than that, really.
I understand that. Again, it's an emotional ride that hits, and it's almost like when you get punched. It
Mhm.
really hurts when you get hit. but you still feel that soreness afterward.
Yeah.
It's like that's kinda how this movie is. It kinda reminds you like, "Hey, there's some fun animals choking on a walker and this talking dog." But remember, he's also here because he lost his wife and, this was a promise, and yeah, it still brings it back. Maybe touch on, like, I guess you can call him the villain. I
Yeah.
mean, he is, and for some reason, I'm blanking on his name, but he's the famous explorer. What'd you think of him?
I have it pulled up here. Charles Muntz, played by Christopher Plummer.
That's it.
I loved the way they set him up. Like, he's this amazing explorer and such a nice guy and a great example, and then he turns out to be this jerk, and I I thought that was really cool. It's a good twist.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think you could kinda see it coming. We've talked about different twists and, at least in the Pixar movies especially, but yeah, I think it was well done. It definitely gave that plot what it needed. I think it kinda needed that a little bit of, okay,
Yeah.
what's the peril outside of the elements?
Well,
What else?
if I could cut in again,
Yeah,
I would say that at times you think Carl is the bad guy.
right.
And so they needed a different person to bounce off of. And that worked. And it worked well, in my opinion. I thought it was really well done. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, 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 you're good. I want you to jump in on that because that's what I thought was interesting. Exactly to your point is, yeah, you're kind of thinking Carl's he's the bad guy because he's just like, I don't want to have fun, and
Yeah.
Russell's trying to enjoy. Like they're in South America, there's this exotic bird and talking dog, and he's just kind of like, ah. So he is kind of the bad guy because it's like, wow, this should be exciting, but I thought it was interesting when you look at the character of Charles Muntz, he's very almost an identical representation of Christopher Plummer. Did you get that? Like, more than other characters?
Yeah, I got that. I'm really familiar with a lot of his work, and I got that. It was definitely based off of him. There's no other way to put it. I mean, they built that character after him, and I like that. I thought that was really cool. He's such a presence. He has such um, a distinguished presence. It's a neat look for the film, and it portrayed well in the animated character. It worked.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's one of the bright spots as much as he's a villain. Can I say that? But, like, I don't know, it kinda broke it up a little bit. It took your mind off of, oh, there's this guy that, he seems like this famous explorer and this good guy, but, oh, he's got some hidden agendas going on, and, he's not a good guy. Yeah, let's just say it that way. He's actually not. So, I found it really interesting, though. Just this feels like 3 or 4 movies in one, if that makes sense. You could break off sections of the movie, and they could be their own thing. You can make a movie just about Carl and Ellie, and yeah.
I would venture to say, if I were making this, I would have made the Carl and Ellie story just a short film, like a 15-minute short film, and it to me it would have been a better story because it was like tragedy after tragedy, whereas you could build that along the ebbs and flows of it in a short film and make it still happy at the end.
Yeah.
And with this, it was like one bad thing after another happened throughout the entire film, and it was like it's harder to swallow. I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think it really could have, again, it just felt like a different movie, and I guess that's kind of breaking it up. It kind of needed that, but this was definitely it wasn't a smooth ride, I guess you can say, because it felt like it was, again, just totally different. Talking dogs and this guy with a blimp, uh, just random. I mean, that's where I was like, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that that was bad. It was just this is kind of different and weird. It was not what I was expecting, especially the first time. But even on the rewatch, I'm going through and I'm like, this just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't sync well like I would hope it would. I guess
Yeah.
would be a downside or whatever I'm trying to say about it. But I'm interested. What kind of fun facts do you have, or anything that you want to throw in there?
So, I've got a few. So did you know that when Carl and Ellie are children, only Ellie speaks at length? Young Carl gasps, screams, and says, wow. But when Carl and Ellie are adults, only Carl speaks.
That's interesting. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't catch that until I found that on a fun fact. That was really cool. I love that trivia.
Yeah. Really cool. I like that.
Another A113 can be seen on the gold sign outside of the courts,
Yep.
which is cool. When the house first leaves the ground, the Pizza Planet truck can be seen in the parking lot.
That's cool. I didn't catch that one. That's one I
Yeah,
missed.
yeah.
That's really cool.
The Luxo Junior Ball can be seen in the little girl's room as the house floats by right at the beginning of the flight.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah, I
And
kind
then
of remember that.
my last fun fact is the original title was Up and Down.
That's a fitting title.
I like that better.
I think I do too.
I like that better.
Yeah. I mean, Up works.
It works.
It's more on the positive. I think that's why they went with it, is trying to stay positive. But I think Up and Down is that's a very fitting title, I have to say. I forgot to bring it out when we covered it, but a fun fact, I was looking it up because I was like, am I seeing this right? But you can actually see Doug the dog's shadow in Ratatouille. Did you catch that? Because we
That
covered,
does sound familiar.
like, at the beginning when they're in the alley and there's a bunch of scurrying around.
Yeah. I remember it.
Yeah, so I failed to mention that when we were covering Ratatouille, but that was kind of a glimpse of, what was to come. Pixar kind of did that here and there with, you would have no idea what it is, but looking back and seeing the movies, you go, oh, there's, the Incredibles, or whatever character, there's Nemo and monsters, that type of stuff. That was their kind of giving you a preview of this movie, but it was in Ratatouille. So there's a little fun fact I could throw out there. But yeah, this is an interesting movie. I think that's what we can say the least of. It's gonna, like you said, to the title, it's gonna take you up and down. Probably, depending on, if you like those kind of movies, maybe you're on an up, or if it's something you get invested in, you're gonna, I don't know, be more emotional. It might take you down. Who knows? But it's definitely on the interesting side. So, anything else you want to throw out there, or anything I wanted to make mention of?
It might sound like I'm bashing this film, and I'm not. It's a good movie. Me personally, I can't enjoy it that well. You know what I mean? I just can't get what everybody else gets out of it because I'm stuck in that first 20 minutes of the film and I
Right.
can't get past it. And everything that they talk about from then on out is like jaded to me.
Yeah. It's tough. Again, I agree with you completely on, it's just, beginning is, it holds no bar. It's just hits you right away, and it definitely makes reference to it throughout the movie and what poor Carl's going through and everything. So I'm with you on that. It's one of those things that's not a bad movie at all. But I guess if you've never seen this movie, just be prepared. Maybe go into it with the thought of up and down, not up. Maybe it'll fit your expectations a little bit more. So, well, before we get down to our reviews, let's take a look at what kind of reviews we're seeing out there. So, Seth, what kind of reviews you got?
The little songbird said,
Ah,
in my personal opinion, this is Pixar's funniest and most poignant film, 10 out of 10.
wow. We just talked about this of, you ask somebody what is their favorite Pixar movie,
Mhm.
and we had ones that said Wally. I think there was one for Ratatouille. So those aren't films, in my opinion, when I think of Pixar, that first come to mind. They come to mind for sure. So that's interesting. I'll just be honest, I don't know if I agree with them, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting take. We still love to hear from the little songbird, so that's great. Great to hear their review.
CC the Movie Man -1 says another feast for the eyes, 9 out of 10.
All right. 9 out of 10. It is a very like I touched on, I do like the animation in this, and looking at the budget, they actually spent a lot for, the scene where he's going through the city there, like you're talking about the girl's room that's passing by, that's really well done. If you're watching the animation and the colors and stuff, it's a beautiful movie. So I could see if you like that kind of thing, you'll be in for a treat with this movie, at least maybe in the mid to later points, I'd say.
Buddy-51 said, loses its way at times, but endearing in large part, 7 out of 10.
Okay, we're back to the 7 out of 10s, but that one's appropriate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it in my personal review.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's some, different perspectives. So, like we brought out, seems like more on the favorable side. And, again, this is a good movie. So, no surprise there. But let's get down to it. Let's get to our reviews. So, Seth, I'm going to ask you for the movie Up, are you going to take it home? Are you going to leave it at grandma's house? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
All right. So I get the appeal. However, I'm overshadowed by sadness and loss. I will leave this at grandma's, hoping the next visit I'm in a happier mood. I still enjoyed it, but I can't take it home because it's a hit. It hits me too much and gives me heartache.
Okay. I thought you were going to hide it in the attic from just the
No,
tone.
I
So,
think this
okay.
is a very good movie, but I just can't enjoy it like everybody else can. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to leave this at grandma's house. I'm not going to try and pull any surprises there because I'm with you. This is a good movie, but is this a movie I want to take home and watch over and over again? No, 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 no. I don't want to put myself through that. It's just, like you said, too much of an emotional up and down. And sometimes that's what you want. I think that's why this is a good movie. This is like you were bringing out those reviews. They thought it was great, the best Pixar movie. And that's probably because it's hitting on what you want in a movie. It's what you're expecting or what you enjoy about movies. That I totally get. But for me, certain movies, I want to leave them at grandma's house. And I would say this is like a mid level where I'm not going to, if I'm going to grandma's house, I'm not going to pull this one out first thing. Kind of like what you said. If I'm in the mood, maybe, but I can't guarantee that. It's like, let's kind of put that back in the collection. I got a whole list of them now from all the movies we've covered. I would probably go to before this movie. That's not any disrespect. Again, this is a very good movie, but it's hard for me to give it like, oh, I want to watch this one again. I almost want to give this some time before I come back to it because, yeah, that's all I can say. That first 15 minutes, it's like if you wanna see if you feel anything, I think they should put this movie on for you. Like, do you have any feeling? And if you don't have any kind of reaction, I'll be worried for you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of our review. I think we're kind of in unison on that. Just, if you've not seen this movie, just be aware. Just be aware of the first 15 minutes. You'll have a fun ride, but it's definitely an emotional one at that. So that'll do it for now. But before we wrap up, Seth, why don't you tell the good people where they can find us on our social platforms?
You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can email us at movies@grandmashouse@gmail.com. And we are on Patreon, so join us for updates and become a member.
There you go, folks. Again, this is up for grabs, so be sure to be a member. And we'll have different tiers. You can join for free if you just want to keep up with what's the goings on. We might start posting movies we're going to be doing ahead of time. So if you want to share your memories, if you want to get in on that, we share reviews that we see online. If you want to share any of the movies you see us going to cover, be sure to check that out. You can, as they say, buy us a cup of coffee. We have just a dollar tier. We're not picky, that'll buy us both a coffee. We can go into a Speedway or something, get the 50-cent coffees. But we appreciate it. We just want to say a big thank you to all of our listeners, all the ones that are keeping up with us. And we've said it in the past, you give us the feedback. We like to listen to that. And we want to make sure that this is something that you're going to enjoy listening to. So feel free to reach out to us. All those places Seth mentioned, you can email us, all that good stuff. Just keep that in mind. And we'll look forward to talking with some of you guys here soon. Just be sure to reach out and touch base with us if that's something that interests you. So that'll do it for now here at Grandma's house. As they say, all good things must come to an end. But don't worry, we'll be back to Grandma's soon. But in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, that's mine! Shoot, get out of here! Come on, beat it!